Yo, what's going on? I want to say this. I've lived in several different hoods. You know what I'm saying? I've stayed in or lived in several different states. I can't really call one specific state my home because I've always moved around so many different times, throughout my life. Periodically throughout my life, you know what I'm saying? And it's difficult, when you're moving so many times, you can't like say, oh, yo, those were my friends here and this and that and so forth, because you don't have you haven't spent that many years with people in specific. You know what I'm saying? To say, yo, that's my hometown, or that's my neighborhood, and those my boys, I grew up with them ever since I was young. I can't really say that, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, I've lived in several different hoods. And I can tell you, while living in the hood, I was one of those dudes that kept quiet. I would go out and do the typical things that you would do when you in the hood. You smoke, you drink, My means of hustling, was boosting clothes. I would do my rounds when I would go in the malls and stuff like that and pick up this is the 90s, I'm talking about. I would, pick up ice hockey jerseys, you know what I'm saying? Those was in, you know what I'm saying, at the time, NBA jerseys, NFL jerseys, and go to the drug dealers, do my rounds, make my money off of that. The worst thing that I've done as far as selling drugs, you know what I'm saying, was selling weed in college. I've never been that type of person where I sold crack. I don't have those type of stories. When I had, I got into this shootout with this person and that person. That wasn't the type of person that I was. Now, true indeed, I knew people that got down like that. You know what I'm saying? And for those people, I saw things. And I knew. I always knew that I didn't want to be a part of that. Why? Because the things that they did, the illegal activities that they did, could get you 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Straight up. That's real talk. I've never been to prison. I've never done any serious jail time. I mean, at the most that I've done in jail was like 2 weeks. And that's because, I was trying to get people to post bail for me outside of jail. And you know how it goes. They don't want to collect calls and all the rest of that stuff. I've always been that type of criminal, so to speak, that really didn't get his nose like really, really dirty. Straight up. That's real talk. But I've seen it. I've lived through other people that I know. And I can tell you, man, I never want to be a thug. Never want to be in the streets like that. Ever. I remember a friend of mine, right? Excuse me, from Brooklyn. Still trying to get in contact with this dude. Karan, where you at? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, we used to hang tight, And, he told me the story of him getting shot in the head. And it was just so graphic. And I'm like, yo, you got to be kidding me. You know what I'm saying? And till this day, he got a plate in his head. I know he hasn't gotten the plate removed. And he was like, yo, B, this is how I used to talk. Yo, son, listen. And somebody punched me there, and I don't know why he would tell me that. I guess he trusted me like that. You know what I'm saying? He's like, if somebody punched me in the forehead, he said he'll automatically die. Because it's a plate so when they shot him in the head, it shattered his skull. You know what I'm saying? So they put a plate over the hole in his head. And he was like, if somebody hit him, it's over. It's curtains for him. That's real talk. For those that are new to the channel, I know you don't know, my brother, but we're going to do a video pretty soon. But Pretty Ricky, Pretty Ricky is not no thug, but he's been in a lot of stuff in the past that I know I wouldn't want to go through. You know what I'm saying? A broomstick. Like, this man told me he got in a fight, with his cousin or whatever. This is family. This is blood. You know what I'm saying? Now, Pretty Ricky's from Brownsville. When you see Pretty Ricky, he all cleaned up now. He all... he all dolled up now. But, when I met him, that attitude was there. That Brooklyn attitude was there. Now he's a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? But, he told me stories. Yo, cousin stabbed him in the head with a broomstick. and then broke it off. And until this day, Pretty Ricky got chips, wooden chips stuck in his head. Or the time when he told me about when his best friend got shot right next to him. And he and shot in the head right next to him. And Pretty Ricky sees brain matter oozing out of his friend's head, and he's trying to put the brain matter back in his head. This is crazy to me. I've seen people get shot up. Literally. Standing over somebody and just like he's wheezing and stuff, and I'm like, yo, this guy, he ain't gonna make it. And you may sit back and say, well, Langston, why are you saying all this stuff? You know what I'm saying? What's the point? What's the moral, or what's the point that you're making? More of the story and everything. What is it? And the point that I'm making is that at the end of the day, man, being a thug, being somebody that's in the streets, or affiliated in the streets, it doesn't amount to anything. Real talk. Real fucking talk, man. I listen to this dude Conway the Machine, for those that are familiar with him, right? Out of Griselda Records. Now, for those that don't know, he's an MC, like a real lyricist. Just came out a couple years back. And what's so unique about Conway, or should I say his image, is he got shot in, I think, right here in his neck, right? And now his face is disfigured because they when he shot him, they tore up like kind of like the muscle tissues and stuff like that in his face. So his face is kind of slumped over. And I'm not trying to be funny, I'm just being real. His mouth is kind of like over here. And his nose is this way, so he rhymes like that. And he has a song on his album, his latest album, called Stress. And he talks about every day how, you know, he got to look at his face that way, disfigured and shit. And how he just had a baby, and I think it was a day or two later after he had the baby died. At the same time, his cousin hung himself, committed suicide. Like, being a thug, being someone that's in the streets, it brings along that type of negative energy. For real. And that's the reason why I try to be as positive as I can be in life. And you could call me corny and all the rest of that shit. I don't care. I'm Normacoom. I got incense burning, all of that shit. I'm grounding when the spring hits. I'm grounding. For those that are familiar with that, I'm sun gazing. I'm doing some of everything to maintain this positive energy. Straight up. Because I don't like what comes along with being negative. Straight up. And it's some shit that you can't hardly shake. For real. Like, I truly believe that Tupac put that energy out for him to pass on, to transition. And it came true. Straight up. I really believe in that type of shit. Yes, true indeed, I'm not religious. But when it comes to the power of words, oh yeah, I'm a firm believer in that. I'm not going to even say believer, I'm a knower, if that's a word to use. Straight up. I know that words can manifest or physically manifest. I know it can. I truly believe when Biggie said ready to die, when people are so focused on death, eventually Anubis is going to come and see you. Real talk. I've heard so many stories throughout my life, man. So many gory stories, man. And people have told me, you know, even women have told me, like, yo, you gotta be kidding me. Some of these women are lesbian because, you know, they were touched at a certain age. Some of these women that are wilding out, I've met. Man, let's kick it. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? I fuck with hoes and we in bed and shit, and they telling me, yo, I'm wilding because, you know, somebody touched me at a young age. Like, being from the streets, I never understood it. I never understood why people want to glorify that shit. Ain't nothing in the streets. I've been in the streets before. And I wasn't out there selling crack. I wasn't out there, getting shot at. But I've been in the midst of shootouts. It wasn't directed to me, but it was directed to that person. I just so happened to be a innocent bystander. But that's crazy. That's crazy, man. Pretty Ricky till this day can't get a full night's rest. Excuse me. Because when he was younger, all he would hear was gunshots all night long in Brownsville. That's crazy. Charlotte, it's the new year, and it's already, about 3 or 4 people have died. Little girl got killed not too long ago. And it's crazy because, the day and time we living in, people are just passing away back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And it hurts, man. I worked out, right? I worked out today, yesterday, and I think it was Tuesday. And so at the Y that I'm at, they have these curtains, right? So the curtains come up, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to get into it. A lot of people are vampires. They just don't like the sunlight, you know what I'm saying? And so the curtains come up after about 9 something in the morning, where the sun has moved, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? Moved and shifted. And the sun rays are not directly going inside the gym. So the curtains come up, and then you can, see Charlotte skyline and, everything else, right? So they're building this new apartment building, you know what I'm saying, right down the street from where the gym is at, where I work out at, and you can see it. You know what I'm saying? It's plain as day. They haven't finished it, right? So just a couple of days ago, 3 guys died. A scaffold gave out, and they didn't have a harness, and they fell 70 feet down to their death. And every time I go to the gym, I have to look at that building that those men died off from. It's just, I don't get it, man. These rappers are dying, passing every day. And I'm seriously thinking about this. Like, really I'm going to stop talking about death. I'm going to stop talking about, what happens, or at least I'm going to slow down, you know what I'm saying, about what happens in Atlanta and Charlotte, all this negative shit, because I don't want that heat. I don't want that shit on me. For real. I don't even want that shit to be on my conscience. Straight up, man. So some of you all may say, well, man, I don't understand why you're a vegetarian, you a tree lover, and this and that and so forth. Man, my background, my past, what I came from, that's the reason why I am the way that I am. I've came from negativity. I've been around negative people all my goddamn life. I've been around hood people all my life. I've been around people, whether they family, friends, I've been around the most negative people you can imagine in life. And I'm just tired of it. I'm so glad that I wasn't a thug. I'm so glad that, true indeed, I didn't finish college, but I went. I'm so glad that I got into the books, reading, seriously, I was out there wilding out. I was smoking weed, drinking, doing all sorts of shit when I was younger. But I always had the time to sit down and be creative. You know what I'm saying? Do my graffiti. There was a time that I used to rhyme. I was an avid reader. I always used to read. Always. And that took me away. And that took me away from the negativity, for one. And also on top of that, you couldn't stereotype me, because I wasn't a stereotypical nigga, so to speak. Because of the talents that I have, not say had, I still have them. But it's just crazy, man. I mean, man, I got stories for days, for those that are familiar with the channel, you all know I was part of a cult, a black cult. And Dr. Malachi York was the hoodest he was the most hoodest person I ever met in my life. Straight up. Well, I can't say that I personally met him, but you know, like being in that cult and just going down to the land in Tamaray and Edenton, Georgia, and hearing him speak and all the rest of that stuff. And the way he used to move and maneuver, like literally physically seeing him, like, yo, man, he's hood. And then our bookstore was hood. You know, I can't tell you how many times the leader of our bookstore wanted to KILL me and other dudes that were affiliated with the bookstore. It was just... been around a whole lot of negativity all my life, and I still can't understand it till this day why people want to associate themselves with the streets. For real, I'm trying to get away from people like that. I'm trying to get away from negativity. I want to be around the nerds. I want to be around productive people. I want to be around corny people. Straight up, I want to be in a position where when I conceal and carry, it's pointless. I want to be in that position. I want to be in an environment where people are like, yo, man, why did you bring that? You don't need that here. Straight up. That's real talk. I just don't understand it. And it's crazy. But then again, I kind of do. Because at the end of the day, for those that want to be affiliated with the streets, you probably was never from the streets. You probably never been in the streets. Because you would know the number one rule. Everybody that's in the streets or from the streets, they're trying to get out. They're not trying to go back in it. Straight up. I'm glad. Now, let me say this. I'll say this first and then I'll explain myself. I'm glad, excuse me, that they're gentrifying these black neighborhoods. I'm glad that they're tearing down the projects in the hoods. Now, I'm not glad that they're gentrifying it and they're building up, you know, high-priced condos, high-rise apartment buildings and all the rest of that stuff where the original tenants that were there in the first place can't afford to live in that area. I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with people being kicked out of their houses and they don't have no place to go. But at the same time, man, I'm cool with, you know, them gentrifying a black neighborhood that was ran down and was full of drugs and prostitutes and all the rest of that shit going on, and then they put up a Trader Joe's, they put up a Whole Foods, a Target, and all the rest of that shit. Cause man, it ain't nothing positive about the hood. Straight up. Real talk. When I used to go visit my family in the Thompson's projects, sometimes I could be a bit too truthful. For real. But I just truly think it's needed, you know what I'm saying? And if you want to assassinate, you know, my character, you want to paint me out to be this negative person, then so be it. I mean, what I did was in the past, and it is what it is. But I almost every time I went to go visit my family in Thompson's projects, I always made an effort to piss in the elevator. If I had to take a piss, or you know, in the stairways, you know, with the lights blown out and the stairways and shit, I always go to the side, pull my shit out, peed everywhere. Who gives a fuck? That's the point that I'm trying to make. Nobody cares about anyone in the hood. Nobody cares about anyone's personal belongings in the hood. I used to go to the Tompkins Projects, man. I could do whatever I wanted to do. You go to the corner store, the bodegas, they don't ask for your ID. I wasn't even nowhere near 21. Go to bodegas, yo, I'm gonna get 240, 3. You don't need nobody to, man, come on. I don't know how it is now, you know what I'm saying? I've heard New York's changed quite a bit. But I remember, you know, distinctly getting off of work, going to the corner store off of Jamaica Avenue and getting a 40 in paper bag, drinking a 40 while walking down Jamaica Avenue. That was way before, you know, excuse me, Old Navy and Gold's Gym and all of that shit. That was like when and that's in the 90s where the Coliseum was popping. They had the arcade in there. Come on, man. y'all ain't feeling me. They had New Tribe where you can get your hair twisted and all of that. Please. She could damn near smoke a blunt on Jamaica Avenue back in those days. But yeah, man, I'm just glad I'm here. You know, living in suburbs, and the worst thing that happens out here is the garbage man may not come on time. He may, you know, it may be Thursday. This motherfucker don't show up until like Sunday. You know what I'm saying? The worst thing that happens out here is I saw a deer like run up in the backyard. You know, them deers is not a game. You know what I'm saying? They could bust inside your damn house. You know what I'm saying? Because I got a sliding door. They could break into that shit and ruin your whole fucking house. Tear your whole shit up. And then jump the fuck out like as if, hey, I'm Gucci. Everything Gucci. And after they tore up your house. That's the worst shit that could happen in where I'm at. I don't have to hear no gunshots and none of that stuff. I'm not throwing up gang signs. Man, miss me with that. I just want to live a peaceful life, man. Straight up. Y'all can have all the thugs and the NIGGERSs. Y'all have all that shit. You know, I don't mind talking about that shit every now and then within the confinements of my home. You know what I'm saying? I put it out there to YouTube world. Y'all can hear it or not. That's that. I close. Once I stop this from recording, I forget about all of it. You know what I'm saying? I'm on to, you know, positive shit. Straight up. So, yeah, man, I don't know who needed to hear this. If you out there in them streets, get the fuck out of there, man. Real talk. Because it leads to nothing but negativity, death. You know what I'm saying? Other than that, my name is Langston292. I want you to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely share this video.